Adam Taxon on Friday, November 8th, 2013 with one of my weekend culture tip segments. I know my audience these days is largely a national one, maybe even international, and that is who will be getting this, but this is really for people in the Philadelphia area. Old habits die hard, I guess. This is also for the many of you who live within not that far of a drive of Philadelphia. So, I recommend trying to catch one of the last performances of Macbeth at the Hedgerow Theater in Rose Valley, Pennsylvania. That's about 25 minutes from Center City, Philadelphia. I also recommend trying to get to Center City-based InterAct Theater Company's innovative genocide-related play called, let me take a breath here, it's called We Are Proud to Present a Presentation About the Hedgerow of Namibia, formerly known as Southwest Africa, from the German Südwest Africa between the years 1884 and 1915. That is really the title. We Are Proud to Present closes this weekend. Macbeth closes next. Let me start with the latter. Again, it's called, deep breath, We Are Proud to Present a Presentation About the Hedgerow of Namibia, formerly known as Southwest Africa, from the German Südwest Africa between the years 1884 and 1915. Talk about a straightforward title. Actually, not entirely. The production has a lot of unexpected elements, like a play within a play, think, I don't know, Kiss Me Kate, as well as things like reading of letters from German soldiers, sort of spontaneous rapping, intercaste conflict, and singing. It's risky to do all that, but for whatever reason, the production works. It's highly entertaining and engaging, and you learn a lot about a very much unknown, not that long ago, genocide. Actually, the more appropriate term to use here might be that revived by the historian R.J. Rummel. That term is democide, which means the murder of any person or people by a government, including government. I'm using the wrong term, including genocide, politicide, and mass murder. As for what happened to the Hedgerow, the play very solidly deals with the issue that there isn't a whole lot of written evidence about the democide. Remember, we have letters from German soldiers pretty much as the only main source of historical evidence, and it's not like the Hedgerow had written language. I'm sure quite a few members of the audience did some Googling about the Hedgerow after seeing the play. As many of you know, I personally am very pro-Second Amendment, and this production actually makes a good, if totally inadvertent, case for supporting the need for Second Amendment rights. This is even though Seth Rosen, who's the artistic director of the InterAct Theater, even though he and the theater itself tend to have a left-of-center viewpoint. Why is it the case that it makes such a case for Second Amendment rights? Well, it very much reinforces the important point, particularly in the second half of the play, that democide or genocide, whichever you want to call it, they occur when governments have monopolies on advanced weaponry. In this case, well, straightforward enough, the Germans have the guns, the African natives do not. You can guess what happens to the African natives. So it's not so difficult to get reinforcement from the production about what happens when a government with an agenda gets an overwhelming superiority in firepower. I might add that the audience on the night when I saw it seemed to be comprised, typical for Philadelphia, seemingly largely of white liberals and, of course, a disproportionately high number of Jewish liberals. But that's just from glancing, but I can sort of tell these things by now. Hope they all learned a lesson, but I pretty much doubt it, at least regarding the Second Amendment. The production definitely has some scenes which are better than others, and it's fair to call it quirky. But those of us who are familiar with the InterAct Theater Company, we know what to expect these things. The theater company takes risks. Good for them. One thing to note, I see a lot of theater. My companion that night does not. My takeaway from our comparative reactions is that the production will appeal more to someone who sees a lot of theater than someone who goes to a play every once in a blue moon or so. That's true of plays within a play in general. And speaking of plays within a play, this production reminded me somewhat of the great Adam Agoyan movie from the early 21st century, I think it was maybe 2003, the great movie Ararat, which is about the Armenian genocide. So the acting in this play is very good, just as one would expect for a production in a region as excellent theater-wise as Philadelphia. The 6-person cast includes James Iams, a relatively young actor who's received a lot of praise for his work to date. And that includes an award back when they had the Barrymores for something like Most Promising Young Actor. I've enjoyed Iams' work in Ruined at the Philadelphia Theater Company, which was also about Africa, and especially in Superior Donuts at the Arden. He was fine in The Whipping Man, the Arden's play about the Jewish Confederate soldier, although I thought the overall production was weak. Finally, related to this play, I had the chance to talk with Seth Rosen, the InterAct's artistic director, when I was there. He pointed out to me that a play that they'll be doing later in this season, Zell Williams' Down Past Passyunk, should also be of interest to those attuned to gun rights. The play is described as exploring the human dramas created by South Philly's changing social and cultural landscape. So let me quickly get to the Hedgerow Theater's Macbeth. I don't really need to describe it to anyone, beyond that it does relate to InterAct's We Are Proud to Present, in that violence is a big part of both, obviously. I had somehow never seen or read Macbeth until now. The Hedgerows is a pretty good production. Some scenes are missing, and I'm not sure the transferring of it into the World War I era entirely worked, but give them credit for trying. I do recommend the play, though, and let me add that in general, the Hedgerow and its staff, led by Penelope Reed, are a huge asset to the beautiful borough of Rose Valley, Pennsylvania, where I just so happen to be fortunate to grow up. Going this weekend would be particularly nice for people because fall foliage is at its most beautiful right now in Rose Valley. You really do get a sense of history while seated in the Hedgerow Theater. It may not have a lot to do with Scottish history, but it's definitely a part of the history of the early 20th century arts and crafts movement, which is at the heart of the history of Rose Valley. Let me just add that the Hedgerow's annual Christmas season production, I call it Christmas season, not holiday season on purpose, that its production of A Christmas Carol starts relatively soon. It is a long-standing tradition at the Hedgerow. They always add a unique twist to the production, although the member of the Hedgerow staff that I talked to when I was there wasn't even sure yet what it would be this year. Although I'm pretty sure they'll be using the Nagel-Jackson adaptation, which they used last year, again this year. Finally, both the Hedgerow Theater and Interaction Theater productions that I just described are easily Googleable, so I won't give you all the details here. Just Google them. Have a nice weekend.